Today's episode, the subject is going to be the filming board. I know this seems like something pretty obvious to most people, but we've actually had a lot of subscribers to InFocus requesting this. So I'm going to break it down and explain what goes into making a filming board and the benefits of using them when you're shooting skateboarding. So the main difference between a filmer's setup and a regular setup that you'd normally skate for doing tricks is the wheels. Filmers will use cruiser wheels, and that means that they're softer and usually a little bit bigger than regular skate wheels. The wheels you normally ride for doing tricks are anywhere between 98A and 101A in geometer rating, whereas cruiser wheels tend to be somewhere around 85A to 78A. And that just means they're a lot softer. The lower the number means softer the wheel, higher the number gets harder and harder. If you look back to a recent issue of Transworld Skateboarding from this year, you can see in the article about Cinematographer project, all the filmers boards lined up, and the one thing in common is the big soft wheels. And the benefits of this is when you're filming along the sidewalk or any ground, you get over little rocks, cracks, anything that could be a slight obstruction, these wheels will handle them a lot better. Being softer, they a smoother ride. They make it a little bit quieter when you're behind the camera, so you tend to hear the skate that you're filming more than the filmer's wheels. And by being softer and smoother and a little bit bigger, you have to take a few less pushes to keep up with the guy, so your filming is generally going to be a lot smoother. Another thing with filming boards, I've noticed a lot of camera guys like to ride a wider deck, perhaps even a longer wheelbase. And I think the reason for this is you spend a lot of the time with only one foot on the board. Your back foot's quite often hanging off, either dragging to control speed or pushing to give you some speed. So having a nice, comfortable, steady ride underneath you is pretty essential, because you're usually focused on filming the guy, looking at the skater or looking at the camera or somewhere in between. So having to not look down and check where your board is or where your foot placement is pretty helpful. So a nice steady ride, anything that you're really comfortable with. So my current setup is a Blood Wizard cruiser board. It's a Cyclops. Nice long cruiser board, pretty decent wheelbase, nice long tail, good steady ride just to jump on and not really have to look down and pay attention too much and focus more on the filming. The trucks are just some indies. The wheels I have right now are actually OJs. They have a camera on the side, so you can know they're definitely for filming. You can probably see them squishing a little bit when I squeeze them. So they're quite soft, real smooth ride. A little bit smaller than a lot of filmers use, but I like them because they're smooth on the street, but when you end up in a skate park, they're not too squishy and you can actually keep your speed up following someone through bowls or lines like that, whereas I find if they're too soft, sometimes you have a hard time when you're pumping through transitions to keep your speed up and following a skater. Another thing to consider if you're going to get bigger cruiser wheels is you probably want to start stacking riser pads under the trucks. I actually don't have any right now because these are only 54mm wheels, and I ride my trucks fairly loose, but not loose enough that I get too many wheel bites. If I had slightly bigger wheels, or even if I rode looser trucks, I'd probably want to stack at least a 1/4 inch or maybe even a 1/2 inch riser pad under there. That way you can carve around without any worries of stopping from wheel bites and ruining the shot. My last recommendation is getting decent bearings in those wheels. There's no point having nice, soft, smooth wheels if you're going to have rubbish bearings slowing you down. The faster the ride, the less pushing you got to do, the smoother your filming's going to be. So get some decent bearings in there, and if you can afford it, drop some cash on some Swiss, because those things are amazing and they'll last you a long time. If not, just get regular bearings and take good care of them, make sure they're not squeaking and interfering with the filming. So that's about it for a filming board. There really isn't too much to explain on this subject. Like I said, the main difference between this setup and a regular setup that you'd be skating doing tricks on are the wheels. If you get nice soft wheels, it'll smoothen out your ride. You'll take a few less pushes to keep up with the guy you're following, and the softer they are, the quieter they'll be, so you'll hear more of the audio of the guy that you're filming and hopefully less of the audio of the guy behind the camera following around. And if you're dedicated to filming, I recommend getting a full setup that's for filming only, and it's not expensive. You can take some hand-me-down trucks, leftover trucks, a bit of driftwood board. It doesn't need to have any pop really, it just needs to be a comfortable ride, and that way you have a board that you're used to, because you know you're rolling around with the camera gear in your hand. You definitely don't want to risk breaking that kind of stuff, so a board that you're very comfortable cruising around on is pretty crucial. And that's about it really. Just go out there, try it out, roll around, get some cool shots on your skateboard, see how fun it is.